kill innocent women and children. As we know, what Israeli soldiers do is that they protect Israel from terrorist attacks, and actually in many cases help so many Palestinians who are in so much need that they don't get help from their own. But this is frightening that this is happening once again in 2012, like it did in the 1930s and 40s.
For me, it's Bollywood. It's really a theater play, very demonic play, because it wants to hurt the integrity and the dignity of Israelis and of Jews. So this is my summary about these films. I was in the university on the conference you just showed. The way they are aggressing with words is, in my opinion, unfair within the Code of Ethics of Public Relations, and I would like here to make a little presentation of the use of words that we are hearing every day, and sometimes the words are not the right words. So when they talk about a war, they rather should talk about a conflict. There is a democracy versus dictatorship, and you cannot put them on the same level. The truth versus lies. How do you distinguish the truth and the lies today in the news? It's almost impossible. Praise of life on one side and the praise of death on the other side. Try to be awake about this and conscious about this. The parameter, the equation of land, historic land, versus Islamic jihad. The honorable work versus terrorism. The peace versus war. The victim versus aggressor. You know, today when you listen to the news, in Belgium at least, every time there is news about Israel, they first would give and show the Israelis as the aggressors. I'm talking about the Gaza Strip. And then at the end, they would say they were answering provocation by Palestinians. I don't know, put it in the right order. And then I called this journalist at the radio channel, national radio channel in Belgium. And I told him, why don't you put it in the right order? Why do you present Israelis as aggressors? He said, listen, I'm having the news on the hour, I have 2 minutes, I cannot tell the whole story. I said, I'm sorry. You have a responsibility to answer people ignorance about the Middle East. And if you continue to caricature the Israelis as aggressors, we'll never get out of this trap. I call it a trap. And there is the builders versus the destructors. The disputed versus occupied territories. I agree with Mr. Ayalon, but maybe the way he was putting up the film, and very late. You agree, this film is on like 1 year. And if they woke up in 2000, this should have been put up in 2000. It's very late. I mean, it's amazingly late. And the security fence versus apartheid. In the meantime, the security fence saved a lot of lives. And IDF Tzahal, to me, we don't have to forget that Israel Defense Forces. And so I wanted to re-emphasize this. And if you want, I can also mention in the Code of Ethics of Public Relations, so, if you agree.
Really what you're talking about here is how misreporting of the conflict between the Israelis and the Palestinians is being used through the media to turn public opinion across Europe against the Jewish people.
Yeah.
And this is why dangerous Islamist groups plays into their hands.
Yes. Yes, I mean, it's a fact. This is what's going on. The drama in Toulouse is just nonsense. And the amazing thing is that they're turning the killer into a victim now of the French society, which didn't succeed a multicultural integration. So we are trapped. I have no other word. I mean, setup of theater plays against Israelis is just reconducting the suffering of Jews into their history. So in a way, they're stealing the Jewish history and putting into the Palestinian history. I don't know, I've read that the name of Palestinians was not used in the Quran until Jordan was responsible for Eastern Jerusalem since '67. So I don't know, between 48 and 67, where nobody could go into Jerusalem and pray at the Wailing Wall. There was no freedom to, as of today. Anybody, any religion can go to Jerusalem and pray freely in their beliefs, in their religion.
So, but if we take, for example, the horrendous attack in Toulouse against the Jewish school, in which a rabbi was gunned down, his two small boys were gunned down, and that poor Jewish girl was shot in the head 3 times by this Islamist in France. And now we're seeing that there is an increase in emails and threats against Jewish schools. We're seeing cemeteries attacked in Paris and in Nice, and we're seeing this violence being raised against the Jewish community, with many Jewish people either making aliyah to Israel or fleeing to the United States for safety. How vulnerable is the Jewish community in Europe to anti-Semitism? And as Christians, how can we respond to this new form of anti-Semitism?
We wait and see, I would say, for the ones who are staying in Europe. You mentioned that Aliyah is growing to Israel. I think the community, the Belgian community in Israel is more than 10,000 people today. I know that the youngsters, many are leaving Belgium, leaving Europe because they don't see a future for them in Europe. There is a demographical war going on that is very soft, but still it's on. And I believe that we need to remain optimistic, but we have to observe that, contradictory to what happened with the Holocaust, which was institutionalized anti-Semitism going down to the people, here we have to observe an anti-Semitism from the bottom of the society raising up to the decision makers of the country. So let's see what they will decide. It's in their hands in the end of the day.
What is the trigger point? What is starting this new conflict of anti-Semitism that we've really seen over the last 10 years or so?
Maybe it's waking up some feelings that people have had inside, and they have an opportunity now to show that they are anti-Jewish, because to be with the victims of the other side of the conflict in the Middle East is politically more correct than to be pro-Israelis. And I think that this situation has to change, has to be balanced according to the true situation, because we are living like a nightmare.
And also, what is the impact on the rise of radical Islamism across Europe that poses a threat to the Jewish community, but also poses a threat to our Judean Christian heritage and the whole continent of Europe?
I think that 10% of the Muslim society in Europe is part of the extremists. And they are deciding for the other 90% who are moderate people, who want to live in peace, who just want to enjoy life and practice their religion softly. And there is a movement that is extremist in Europe, and Sarkozy showed it in a tough way and maybe in an impressive way that pleased, I believe, the silent majority, and wondering why he was waiting so long. And hopefully it will have an effect so that Europe will remain a continent where people can live in peace. It is a multicultural society. It is a multi-religious society. We can live in peace.
And Charlotte, we're down to probably the last 3 minutes or so left of the programme. Can you describe how the Christian community in particular can play a role? I believe very much that the Christians throughout Europe mainly failed during World War II, during the 1930s and the 1940s, to stand with Israel and the Jewish people. There were some very brave Christians that did stand with the Jewish people, particularly in Holland and other places in Poland, who rescued Jewish people, and others that were sent to the concentration camps because they did. But I believe that Christians have a historic opportunity today to rewrite a wrong and to stand with the Jewish people against this tidal wave of evil that is sweeping across Europe. What is the best way that the Christian community can get involved with standing with Israel and the Jewish people?
I'm talking about PR, so versus propaganda. So you can help the Jewish people to restore the truth about their history. I think too many people still today are thinking that Jesus was killed by Jews. Jesus was a Jew who was killed by the Romans. So it's basic historical facts. So help us to reestablish the truth from the beginning of this era, Judeo-Christian era. I like to insist on this connection because I really believe that we are living in a Jewish-Christian era, and the word Jewish is too many times forgotten by the spokespersons in general. So work on reestablishing the truth, only the truth, and I think things may get better, hopefully.
Charlotte, haven't we seen in recent years, which is historical and also amazing, because of the increase in anti-Semitism, because of the increase on attacks on Israel, this has really brought the Jewish and Christian community together. And for the first time, there's real friendships now being made between the Jewish community and the Christian community.
I can only be happy about it. I really believe we are living in a Jewish-Christian era, and the first words is often forgotten by the spokespersons. And I insist on that. I think it's important to be linked to our history, background history, and we cannot deny it. We have the same values. We almost have the same feasts at the same time, and we have the respect of humanity, human rights, and I believe that we have a lot in common. The only thing is that we need your help in a way today, because we are being threatened. Christians are also being threatened, by the way, in certain countries. So we are in the same side of the problem, maybe. And we need to work together on friendship, on developing more and more meetings and conferences, maybe seminars, workshops, to get the message through and get the truth out.
I hope this programme goes some way in doing that, Charlotte. Thank you very much for being my guest on the Middle East Report today, and thank you for letting us know what's happening in Belgium and also the public relation war that Israel's in. Just want to thank you all for watching today's Middle East Report. As you can see, that in Europe there's an alarming rise of anti-Semitism that is targeting vulnerable Jewish communities across Europe once again. And if we don't stand with the Jewish people, if we don't fight with the Jewish people to fight against anti-Semitism, then we can only see the continent of Europe enter into dark, dark times like it did in the 1930s and 40s. Here is our opportunity now to stand for truth and fight against propaganda in standing with Israel and the Jewish people.
כל ערב אמר לעינייך יונים, אך אוי לו בבוקר כי זוהי לאה, אמר לבן ליעקב וזו הבחירה.